Our first feature of the night.
Ellie, Jasmine, and Anna. Your mama wants to see you at the back of the grandstand, so I would head that way if I were you. Justin Johnson is heading his way to the front of the field as he has a 2-car length advantage, has Darren Fuqua in tow. They both ran the same line off of turn 2. It served well for Johnson as he was able to get out in front of Brian Green. Darren Fuqua tried the same but was unable to make the pass, and now 2 cars get tangled up again over in turns 3 and
I think as they get going again.
on the restart. Fuqua nearly gets to the outside of Johnson again, but Johnson able to stay out in front. 3 wide, now Fuqua up on the top shelf. Green to the inside. Johnson had side mirrors full of Fuqua and Green, but Johnson able to stay out in front. And this will complete lap number 2, and the Dream Crusher will get a run on the outside and look to take over that top spot as he propels off of turn 2, but Johnson stays out in front, and then Robbie Reed loses it over in 2, your current point leader, if these modifieds can't keep it straight. Green flag flies for Justin Johnson again, and this single file restart will quickly go 2 wide with Fuqua up top. J.C. Morton in the 12 will go to the inside, and he will
runs Kenny Shaw, the track photographer, down to the infield. I think he has Kenny's undivided attention now.
Tyler Wolf loses a lot of ground as he plowed the track up over in turn 2. He went way to the top side as he had no bite at all. Ryan Middaugh able to sneak to the inside of him, and now the 292 of Kyle Thompson comes to a stop over in turn 2. With the green flag in the air again, we'll see if he can make his way in his steady march to the front. Not a great start for Darren Fuqua that time at the line, but he will get a run off of turn 2 again, and Justin Johnson will hold on that 2-car length advantage.
Shane, we started with 24 cars in this feature race. We're already down to 19 now as 5 cars have either been black flagged, broke, or just pulled off the track.
Watching the 5 deep in the field work his way through as he was dead last after a spin over in turn 2. He brushed the wall last time by. This time he gets through the front stretch. Now Robert Heidenreich goes off-roading to the inside. He takes a shortcut inside the white tires. Matt Johnson will get around him. Heidenreich gets back on the track and falls in line behind the number 8.
Right in behind Robbie Love. Now Chase Nomer goes to his outside, and Darren Fuqua has cut down the difference between he and Justin Johnson, our race leader. Fuqua changed up that line a little bit, but Johnson gets a much better run off of turn number 4.
Heidenreich gets side.
Johnson will set the pace. He comes off of turn number 4, and we go back to green flag racing. Johnson dives to the bottom of turn number 1. Fuqua goes right back to the top of the track again. We'll try to get a run as they race down the back straightaway.
He will get that run, pull up alongside. And as we mentioned earlier, the more opportunities you give Darren Fuqua to get around you on a restart, he is going to capitalize, and he did. That last time by, he held the lead over Justin Johnson. Now Johnson's going to have to go on defense, try to find a way, or he's actually going to have to go on offense now that Fuqua has gotten around him. As Fuqua continues to ride that high side, and if he continues to be able to find the tacky stuff up top, get that grip, there's not going to be anybody out on the track that's going to be able to get back around the 87.
No change to the track during the intermission, so it starts to get a little bit drier, a little bit slicker, and that groove around the top of the racetrack really starting to come in for the man from Mayetta, Kansas, as Darren Fuqua keeps Justin Johnson, who had led the first 7 laps, behind him. Lucas Gibbs now making a move on green for 3rd place as Gibbs tries to get around the driver of the 40. Right behind him, your race winner from a week ago, Ryan Middaugh, and then Jason Persley sits in 6th.
Well, after 25 minutes filled with caution, he is now back of the field again. The green flag will fly for Darren Fuqua. This time he gets to set the pace, and he is off to the races out in front of Justin Johnson. When Johnson was your leader, Fuqua was able to stay right with him. Now with Darren out in front, He has propelled himself out to a 4-car length advantage in turns 3 and 4. Now Lucas Gibbs up into the mix. He works to the outside of the 40 again in green. Has that spot at the line that time with Fuquay still top shelf, and Justin Johnson, he tries to find plenty of grip down on the apron. He cut into that lead just a little bit, but not enough, as Darren Fuquay still a commanding lead. Deeper in the field, the 5 of Robbie Reed, the 1 of Matt Johnson. They are both starting to make some moves. They get around the 98 of Peyton Phillips. Next in their sights, the 38 of Jason Persley.
And Reed had just about as much bad luck as you could find on this 3/8 of a mile dirt paperclip oval here, and yet somehow he has found his way to the top 10, but he is going to drop back a spot as that 1X of Johnson, who has been beat on all night, takes the spot away.
Fuquay's advantage now 0.6 seconds as Scotty Allen kicks up some dirt over in turn 2. And it is a 2-car length advantage for Fuquay, and this time Justin Johnson cut into it a little more. Johnson has found something off of 2. He gets alongside Fuquay, 15 down, 5 to go. But in turn 4 that time, Justin Johnson lost a lot of ground. He started to plow up the track, and he had to lift off the gas, and that let Fuquay get back that lead that he had just a couple of laps ago. It's now a half a second.
Tip your cap to Scotty Allen. He spun it down here between 1 and 2 and immediately pulled off the track to try and keep this green flag racing run going for Darren Fuquay, Justin Johnson, and the rest of the field.
Give Ryan Middaugh a big shout as well, as he is now up into 4th. You see a lot of crumpled sheet metal on the back rear on the right side of that number 21. He's gotten involved with his share of tangles as Fuquay leads Johnson off of turn 4. 18 down, 2 to go. Love will make a right-hand turn. His car done for the evening as Fuquay off of turn 4 will spy the white flag. It took a long time to get to it, but that will give Darren Fuquay a half a second lead over Justin Johnson. Johnson trying to find something on that low side. He diamonded the corner a little harder than he had the last couple of laps. He will have one last stab at it. He dives in. He won't be able to make it stick, and the Dream Crusher does it again at Lucas Oil. Darren Fuquay sees the checkered flag.
And Slater sends the street stock screaming to life here. 1 lap to get us started for 25 overall. Flood gets a big run off of turn 2, pulls right back on that spoiler of Slater. Brown, Ott, and Coates bounce it through turn number 4. Everybody trying to hold on to their position on the track as we get 1 lap in. Slater slings it through turn number 2 now as Coates and Brown drift up the track. There's still 3 across with your 2017 track champion, Toby Ott. James Flood all alone in second, and then Brown gets out of his line, comes to the top of the track, trying to keep Cody Frazen back behind him.
Boy, absolutely amazing how Toby Ott that last time in 3 and 4 was able to get the car to turn. The angle he took, it looked like he was going to shoot straight up the track, but somehow got enough rear bite to make his car turn to the left and get down that front straight.
Slater has led him around for all 3 laps so far. So we have 1 car diving to the infield and immediately back up onto the racetrack. The 26 of Donnie Miller, able to just cut it to the inside and cut it right back up onto the racing surface. Slater still holds on to the top spot. Flood in second, Coates in third, Ott in fourth, Frazen in fifth. Shane, the 11 of Derek Brown, that super freak across the back side of it. Not freaky fast to this point as he has kind of had to lay back, and that car has not made its way to the front yet, 5 laps in.
Yeah, whatever preparation they did for this feature did not suit his need whenever he hit the track. And oftentimes you see drivers try to guess what the track's going to do, how it's going to dry out, what kind of turn you're going to be able to make, and what adjustments you need to make, and it just has not worked out for him tonight.
Now he's battling with another Brown, Derek Brown, as they work their way through 1 and 2. Ott and Johnny Coates side by side. They close the gap on the back of James Flood's race car, and Flood is right up with his nose underneath the backside of Kyle Slater. The Okie from Muskogee trying to lead him around again. He does. 7 laps to the good in this one. Ott gets a good run off of turn number 2, tries to get his nose down underneath the 42, but Flood slams the door shut. Then Ott has to check up to avoid coming right up the backside of that 42 that time. Ott avoids the contact, and now our race leaders get into lap traffic as Borland, that black 2, is going to go a lap down here as your race leader Slater, and the 3 cars that are following him will all go around Colton Borland.
Boy, first 6 laps, all 4 of those front runners were all nose to tail, and now Kyle Slater on 2 consecutive laps has been able to pull away, and that is in lap traffic, trying to put cars a lap down. James Flood now has gotten away from Toby Ott and Johnny Coates. Those 3 were all side by side, and now that will allow Flood to try to pick his lane a little easier getting through lap traffic and try to catch that 4.
Donnie Miller's night is done. He will make a hard right turn and exit the racing surface. All the while, Kyle Slater continues his dominance here. That time around, 0.8 of a second out in front of James Flood, 1.8 seconds in front of Toby Ott, and almost 3 full seconds out in front of Joplin, Missouri's Johnny Coates, who now sees Cody Frazen pulling up and cutting down the differential between the drivers that are running in the 4th and 5th spots. Lap traffic can sometimes be the great equalizer, but right now it has not slowed down Kyle Slater. So he will sling it through 3 and 4 now and get ready to try and put the 44S of Steve Scott a lap down. Slater now expands his lead to almost a 1.5 seconds over James Flood. Now a car, the 69, spins right at that starting cone. Slater will slam it down to the ground and get us back to green flag racing here, and he gets away clean from Flood and Ott to get this one started. Flood to the bottom of the racetrack, gives up 4 car lengths now to Slater. Coates and Ott will go side by side through 3 and 4 with Frazen following in behind them. 1 lap, Shane, and already more than a 0.5 second advantage to Slater as Colton Borland is a little slow down the backstretch, and it won't take Slater long to catch up to the 2.
Yeah, Borland spun it out over in 2, but luckily was able to get it back under fire and back underway.
Slater around the bottom of the track through 1 and 2 now. Flood drives the same line. Ott through the middle. Tries to slam the door shut on Coates. The 69 of Brown gets squirrely. He'll turn around, make contact with the white tire. He's got a few more laps to improve on that position as Slater leads him underneath the green flag here. 11 more laps to go in our 25-lap feature. Ott bounces it off of turn number 2. That opens the door for Johnny Coates. Coates to the bottom of the racetrack has the preferred line, and he will clear Toby Ott, take away 3rd place from him. That's the first real change we've had in the top 3 in some time. Ott giving way to Coates, Frazen, and Bob Barnett now pulls right up on the back of the 04. James Flood continues to search for a line that will allow him to gain ground on the 4 of Kyle Slater. He has yet to find it. Better than a 0.5 second advantage that time around for the driver from Oklahoma. Ott to the bottom of the racetrack, trying to get that 3rd place spot back away from Coates. Coates at the top of the track, running that high line like we saw Darren Fuqua take all the way to the win in the modified race. Coates able to hold on to his spot the next time around.
Well, you will very rarely see Toby Ott get off the bottom of the track, and Johnny Coates knows the fastest way around for him is that top side. So for those 2 to battle it out, couldn't be a better scenario for either one of them, as Toby Ott a good run off of 4 this time, just unable to get any type of momentum off that front stretch and make that pass over the 35.
Kyle Slater out in front of the field continues to gain momentum. His lead over James Flood was almost a second the last time around. This time it expands to almost a 1.5 seconds as he continues to pull away for the driver from Crane, Missouri in the 42, James Flood. Now Frazen takes a turn. He and Barnett.
Horsepower under the hood to get around him.
It may be same result here tonight. It has usually only taken him about a lap to put a half a second between he and Flood, and then within 2 laps he usually grows that lead to a second and a half. Right now, Ott all over the backside of Flood. Coates continues to run around the top of the racetrack, and Slater just running away from the field. Already out to a second lead. Just 1 green flag lap into our restart. Now Dugan has to pull the 93 down onto the infield. We continue under green flag conditions here. Slater fires off of turn number 4. 4 laps remain in this one as Toby Ott is trying to get around the 42. Ott now to the bottom of the racetrack. Not a lot of room between he and those white tires, and he gets around, and right as he does, take away the spot. But we will see as Slater gets to the cone and gets the restart going here. Bruce Cordy with the green flag up. And everybody goes back to racing now. Slater, Flood, Ott, Coates all in a line as they come off of turn number 2. Ott and Coates maybe a little bump there. Coates retreats back. Ott able to hold on to his line, chasing Flood, and everybody chasing Kyle Slater is now Bradley Gideon and Colton Borland come together. Flood right up on the back bumper of the 4 as the green flag waves, and Slater tries to wave goodbye again to the rest of the field. He slides up the track as he fires down the back stretch. Dive bombs into turn 3 now. The driver from Oklahoma, nice and smooth off of turn number 4. 2 laps remain now as Slater back to that usual half a second lead, just 1 lap into the green flag run. Johnny Coates now, speaking of runs, gets a good one on the outside of Toby Ott as they battle for 3rd place. James Flood all alone in the 2nd spot. Then a gaggle of cars behind them as the white flag comes out for Kyle Slater. A winner already here at the Diamond of Dirt Tracks. Slater on each and every restart after a caution has been able to pull away from the field. A 1.2 second advantage is all he'll need to be your race winner tonight in the Big Adventure RV Weekly Racing Series.
Still looking for our first completed lap. As Bruce Cordy eyes him over and flies the flag yet again. Push down on the go pedal. And this time Gilmore is able to stay right with Morton. But then off of the turn, Morton accelerates and gets out to a 2-car length advantage. Taylor Moore in the 00, fighting with the other 66 in this one. That is Ethan Isaacs, and Isaacs will get together with the 00. Moore spins over in turn 2, and he will have a chance to correct that here tonight, as it is a single file restart for the Ozark Golf Cars USRAB mods, and that might be what they need to get everybody spread out and get some laps clicked off as Robbie Ewing looks to the inside of the 83 of J.C. Newell. He will take that spot away down the backstretch. Chris Jackson has moved around Dayton Pursley. That moves him into 9th. As the 7 comes to a slower pace on the backstretch, that's Logan Robinson. He continues on, however, at the tailback of the field. As J.C. Morton now quickly out to a good advantage over Gilmore, then Isaacs. Robbie Ewing, a good strong showing as he is up in 4th. And then the number 6 of John Potter. Potter out of Tulsa. 2nd in the point standings at Salina. Is now into the top 5 in his first ever race here at the Diamond of Dirt Tracks.
Not a bad run for a guy who said he just wanted to race here at least once. He and another car in that stable making their way here. J.C. Morton making his way around the racetrack in a hurry, Shane. A 1.5 second advantage over Ryan Gilmore, who runs in 2nd. And now Robbie Ewing, who just continues to get better and better each and every week, has pulled up on the backside of that 66 of Ethan Isaacs, and he has got his eyes on taking over that 3rd position.
So that is the first real battle for position. Now Chris Jackson is worked up. He is securely in the top 10 now, as he is 6th behind Potter. Potter out of Tulsa, the next to have the crosshairs set by Chris Jackson on the back bumper. Nose to tail again as J.C. Morton dives to the inside of turn 4. The rest of the field will follow suit. Robbie Ewing's been a big mover in this one. He has worked his way up to 4th. He's looking for more to the inside of Isaacs. Has his nose peeking to the inside of the left rear fender well. Isaacs doesn't want to give that spot up as he will chop off the nose again over in turn 2, and then in the process nearly get to the inside of Gilmore. And then here comes Chris Jackson. He's into the top 5. He has gotten around Potter for 5th. Robbie Ewing right in front of him now as another 2-car tango. And these are the same 2 cars that were involved earlier on. J.C. Morton has had a great start every single time the green flag has come back out, and this is no exception. As they stay single file, but now Gilmore, he will break formation and go top side. Does not work out for him as Morton spans him by 7 car lengths, actually closer to 3, not quite 7. As Gilmore, again, with a good run off of 4, tries to use that outside momentum to keep up with the 18 and is able to do so. Ewing back for 4th, peeking inside Isaacs. And that pass unable to be made. Now Chris Jackson, he now has gotten to the point through the field to where whenever he started towards the back, yeah, you know what, you're going to pass some cars pretty easy just because you have the horsepower. He's up into the pack now to where it's going to become difficult to pass cars. And I think he is seeing that now as he started this on lap 7 in 5th position, and now he's gone a couple of laps and really has not been able to make any ground at all as the cross flags come out. 10 down, 10 to go.
Good race behind Jackson, Shane, for another spot. Austin Joplin now trying to get around the Oklahoma driver, John Potter, as the 18 just all over the backside of the 6, and now Joplin gets a good run off of turn number 3 as another car comes to rest just off the racing surface.
3-lap stint. So now the 32 between the two 66s, and Chris Jackson back in 5th, looking for a top 5 run. As it is Morton out by 3 car lengths. And Gilmore hanging right with him. Chris Jackson now looking to the inside of the other 66 of Ethan Isaacs. A nose in front. Gets a little more of an advantage off of turn 2. A little more on the back stretch. And now he has his nose out in front as they're off into turn 4. He'll have the spot that time around. So he is up to 4th. And this time it is the 7 again. Racing action and just the operations in general, and their awards banquet is no exception. 8 laps remain as we are back underway, and J.C. Morton again with a slight advantage over Gilmore off of 4. Now Chris Jackson to the high side around the 32. That's a fight for 3rd now. Can the momentum keep up for Chris Jackson? Robbie Ewing will have it that time around, completing lap number 13. As J.C. Morton gets a little more breathing room, it's 0.6 seconds over the 66 that last time by. And Chris Jackson now losing a little more ground to Robbie Ewing as they are all fanning out up in the front 5.
J.C. Morton not losing any ground, though, out front. Shane, almost a second advantage over Ryan Gilmore out of Springfield. Robbie Ewing trying to keep pace, 1.5 seconds behind your leader as Chris Jackson tries to close the gap on the 32.
He has quite a bit of gap to close at that as they just continue to get all fanned out, and J.C. Morton continues to click off extremely good laps. It was 1.2 seconds of the lead last time by. This time it is 1.5, so it continues to grow, and the number of laps remaining continues to shrink down to 4 before this one goes final.
Morton turned to 19.1 second lap time, Shane, and that was the fastest on the track. So your leader out in front of everybody, plenty of room to race, and that's the fastest car on the track.
Yeah, he is on a mission here tonight, getting that front row starting spot. He knew it was his time to get things righted with Chris Jackson way in his rearview mirror, not so far back in his rearview mirror now, as Chris Jackson has worked up to fourth. Great job of getting through the field for the Lebanon native, but right now it is the number 18 that has 18 laps in the book. And one more to go this time by. He's going to have to get by the number 7 first, and that might be a tall task all in its own because Logan Robinson has had a tough time keeping it straight. The number 18 will get to the inside and clear Robinson, and that will do it as the white flag is out. One more left-hand turn for the Springfield native. He had 2 wins back in April. He was your point leader at the time, and he will find his way back to victory lane here in July.
Right now is Rich Wine. Takes a little slow start here, then gets into the gas quickly. The hammer to his outside. Ferris comes up, and Henson goes all the way to the top of the track here. Falls back a couple of spots. Larry Ferris and Aaron Morant now starting to make a move as Morant pulls up alongside Rich Wine, but he gets a good run off of 4, and Rich Wine will hold the top spot through lap number 1.
Boy, as fast as Chad Richwine was in his heat race, to be able to pull away from everyone else in the field, I think he's got to have a good, strong chance up front, but it all depends on the type of adjustments that the 2 cars back behind him have made.
How about the adjustment that Caden Cornell has made from 10th to 4th in the first 2 laps here, as he's now in front of Ashley Lancaster. Cole Henson, who started on the front row behind that white 5-0, now trying to track him down, being chased by Johnny Finewald.
And if you remember back in the heat race, Caden Cornell did nothing. He started in 4th, finished in 4th. He really didn't improve at all. He just stayed kind of steady. So I'm not sure if the track has come to him or if he has made adjustments to fit the track's needs, but he is bad fast now up into 4th.
The Hoover Motorsports Racing entry up to that number 4 spot. Aaron Morant now gets his nose underneath the race car, driven by Rich Wine. Doesn't get enough bite off of that exit of turn 2. Rich Wine continues to run out in front. A big gap now back between Aaron Morant and Larry Ferris, who's running in 3rd. Caden Cornell quickly trying to catch up to the red and white 51.
Boy, tough break for Cole Henson in this one, who started on the front row, got shuffled back in the opening lap over in turn 1 and 2, and then it happened again to him off of turn 4, lost another couple of positions, and now he is just trying to hang on to a top 5 run, and Johnny Finewald has something to say about that.
Remember, there's just 2 points separating the Flash from Appleton City and Caden Cornell, and right now Cornell has the spot in front of Finewald and an opportunity to take over the points lead. Aaron Morant, the racer from Richmond, Missouri, trying to take over the lead as he goes to the bottom of the racetrack, pulls up alongside the 42 of Rich Wine. Rich Wine rockets down the back stretch now, and both of our top 2 cars now getting ready to come up upon lap traffic as Bob Cummings is at the back of the pack here, the veteran driver, the first one to have a chance to be put a lap down by your race leader, Chad Richwine. 8 laps already in the book. Morant drops back in line behind the 42H, then goes to the bottom of the racetrack. Tries to use Cummings as a pick here. Bob tries to get out of the way, and Richwine will roll around him. Morant jumps in front of the 6 now, but has to stay in line behind Rich Wine here.
Boy, that was a hold-your-breath moment trying to get around the lap car of the number 6. They worked on him for a full lap, and both of them were able to move around them cleanly on the outside.
Ferris and Cornell going to get around the 6 a little bit faster as Caden now goes to the top of the racetrack. Johnny Finewald follows in behind him. It's Rich Wine, Morant, Ferris, Cornell, Finnewald, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as we cross the midway point of the 20-lap feature. 11 laps down. Morant now gets good bite at the bottom of the track, but Richwine powers down the back straightaway again, trying to hold on to the top spot and hold back that 1X of Aaron Morant.
Boy, you just get a feeling it's kind of like Novocaine. Give it time and that inside line will work. And I think that's what's going to work for Aaron Morant. He is getting closer and closer every lap to be able to pull off that pass over Richwine.
Less than a tenth of a second separated them the last time around. As again, Richwine now gets a good run and expands his lead that time all the way out to 4/10 of a second. We've talked about it the last couple of weeks. Morant likes a track where he can run wide open. This track has got a lot of color to it now as it is dried up. Morant continues to roll in second place. The 6 of Bob Cummings goes to the infield, pulls back up on the racetrack. That car tick slower now than it was before. Ashley Lancaster tries to navigate around the 6. She will pull away down the front stretch and get around Cummings. Richwine and Morant haven't given up any ground to Larry Ferris, who's about a second and a half behind. Richwine now splits in between Imhoff and Morant, still trying to find his way to hold on to that top spot. And again, now Morant slides up in front of him. Morant will lead him around through lap 15. Richwine right up behind him, and Cummings takes a turn in between 1 and 2. So yellow lights off. They'll go 2 by 2 by 2 behind your race leader, Aaron Morant. The racer from Richmond rips away from the field here, and immediately Ferris jumps out, takes away the number 2 spot. Richwine gets shuffled all the way back, and then there is a big mess back behind them. As they all get lined up, the yellow lights have been extinguished. Morant will try to motor his way to a win here tonight. He's got to keep the pack behind him for 5 more laps. Morant gets a good run off of 2 and starts to stretch his advantage over Richwine. Johnny Finnewald tries to flash around Caden Cornell as they will race around one another here off of turn number 4, and Finnewald will take the spot away as they jockey for position in a battle for 4th place.
Well, don't forget in the heat, this is exactly the way it was setting up as well for Chad Richwine. He was running back in second with just a couple of laps left and had a kamikaze move on the last lap, so he may be trying to repeat what he did in the heat.
Larry Ferris trying to keep Johnny Finnewald behind him as Jason Civils will pull off the racing service now. The driver of the 0X will retire with 3 laps remaining. Morant rolls off of turn number 4, hugs the wall down the front stretch, and has a 1-second advantage over Chad Richwine. Richwine, though, about to have company. Larry Ferris, the 51. Johnny Finnewald in the 21, trying to close the gap between them and the 42. Ferris gets there, but Richwine able to hold on to the spot. Now the 21 and the 51 will try to split the 42. Ferris can't find enough bite down at the bottom of the racetrack as these 3 cars battle for second. All the while, Aaron Morant pulls away, and he will get to pull into victory lane tonight. Ferris takes away the number 2 finishing spot